Hello, we're the Infamy Esports fantasy sports team, and we're hosting fantasy sports competitions at infamy.gg, so check that out. And today we're talking about the disaster situation that Overwatch League is in and kind of has been putting themselves in like repeatedly, and it's just kind of now imploding like currently. We're starting to see the effects. And what really kicked it off was their former MVP and last year part of last year's champion team, Sinatraa, retiring to the game to go play Valorant, a game in beta with no real esports outline. Though he did sign to an org, so there is like something, and everyone's anticipating it'll be, you know, a big esport in the future. But not a good look to have someone drop out of your season mid year to join the competition. And there's also just like kind of the crumbling of their tier two scene and their tier three
I
scene
feel
with
like
all
the
the
tier 2 scene has been in shambles for quite a while.
yeah, but
Yeah.
all the academy teams are now like are dropping their teams, and it's, which is in a way I think might be a good thing, because it's like now some more independent teams might have a chance, and because they don't have the same resources that the academy teams do. So I feel like they kind of dominated contenders, but I feel like contenders is kind of stupid in the first place, and they should just kind of leave it open, because that's been a big complaint about competitive Overwatch, that like as soon as Overwatch League started, they kind of Blizzard took full control and limited the tournaments that their players and other people could participate in, and kind of wanted full monopoly over the tier 2 and 3 scene, but not like to actually put the care into like making it function. So yeah. um
Yeah. Wait, didn't Sinatra get he got a skin, right? He got like a Zarya,
It's not out yet.
special. Oh, it's not out, but it's coming out, right?
They should
What a
yeah,
slap in the face to
snub them.
Jeff.
Snub them.
Honestly,
yeah.
I think that the Overwatch League, not that they kind of put themselves in this box by, like you said, shafting the tier 2 scene and catering to only their tier 1 pros, and the just like the nature of the system where you have to play 12 hours a day. Because I read Sinatra's whole explanation for why he quit. He said he like lost fun for the game. Anything that you lost interest in the game itself, and like he was playing, doing scrims like 12 to 14 hours a day, and like you do that repeatedly, you're gonna have burnout. And I feel like that's what really happened to him. He got burnout. You're not gonna.
How's that different from any other esport? I
Yeah,
think
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
just
It's
for
just
the
like a
particular game.
it's
Like
a
I
thing
thought,
that's going to happen with anything you do for that long, and I don't think they have any backup plan for that. Like when that
yeah.
happens, it's going to happen to your players, and that's what your tier 2 scene's for. It's supposed to be like a revolving door.
What, are
You
you
have your
supposed to
boy.
grind out these people, to squeeze them out until they have
Yeah,
nothing
that's,
left, and then
that's
bring in the next one?
I mean
That's
that's
not,
what it
you're
seems
never
like
gonna
that
have a face.
that's
You're
what
never gonna have a
that
face of the
seems like
brand then.
they're trying to do. That they make it's like play the game all day every day until you're tired, and then you can either leave or you can continue to play the game. And I think another problem with it, I've mentioned it before off camera and on the camera a little bit, is that the depersonalization of the league has led to its decline as well. Nothing against Koreans. I have nothing, no negative energy there, but I'm just saying that you bring in all these players who don't speak English into English broadcast, broadcasting to an English audience, and there's no personalization there, and you have like these teams that are supposed to represent states, and there's no actual representation of the states. I would have loved to see Overwatch League have like local players from each
Yeah, you're
state.
the one who wants like only New York players to be
That
playing
would
for
be
the New York
cool.
team.
That
Like,
would be cool.
yeah, but
Not
that's
not
not
only.
realistic, and it's not inducive to competition. Like, you want the best players, and it's like, sorry, NA is trash. Like,
Yeah,
like
Hmm.
you could either be like the Toronto Defiant or the Canadian team, and they picked up a bunch of Canadian players who are not even bad, but they're like really bad this team this way,
yeah,
because they don't have the
Compared to
skill.
everybody else, they just like don't match up.
yeah. I just think
Ouch.
if everyone was like in on that same level, because Koreans are just god tier.
I
Shout out
mean,
to
you
you
could you can
boys.
even see it on some of like the some of the esports news outlets that like aren't that well versed with Overwatch, or they're just reporting on like the major headlines, like oh the best player in the world, Sinatra. It's like, but a lot of people would argue that like Prophet or Carpe would be better than him in many regards, but since they're Korean and they don't know them, and they're like
Yeah,
not the brand, it seems like Sinatra's like the pinnacle, like the
Well,
undisputed
he
fact.
was kind of the most like decorated player because he was like, he won the Overwatch League, he was the MVP of the whole season, and then he won the World Cup the same year and was the MVP
Mhm.
for the World Cup. So in a way, like technically, right now he was like the best because my boy Prophet and Carpe were kind of shit last year because it was goats. But
Yeah, I want to give Sinatra props because I remember when he first came into the league, he changed his account name to Mister or 150K because that was his salary or whatever, and he was just flexing, and I was like, yeah, right, this kid's out here feeling himself, and he did prove it. He was the best Zarya and one of the most decorated DPS players in the league, and he did do his thing before he left. But now what do you do when you're the Overwatch League and Jeff Kaplan, and you're like, all right, your most decorated player is gone. Do you like reevaluate how you're running the league, or do you
well, he
just like, oh, charge
also
it to the game?
he claimed it was because he lost passion. I'm sure that was probably the main
Mhm.
driving force, but I think it's also just like Overwatch League being viewed as like a sinking ship by a lot of people. Like since
That
moving to
too.
YouTube, their viewership has dropped like insane. Like they're averaging like
Hmm.
30,000 a game or more or less, and like without things like Twitch drops and emotes and stuff like that, like viewership is suffering big time.
Yeah.
Uh,
He
So
wanted to get out while I could.
mhm.
I agree, and like the other players are gonna, especially like if that's your most decorated player. Imagine players who aren't getting any like playtime, or like, what are they thinking now? It's like, well, Sinatra was the best and quote unquote the best, and now he's out. So like, what am I? Are they like, oh, I'm gonna fill his spot, or are you gonna
Yeah, it's a
be
wake
like,
up
oh,
call for I think a lot of the other teams besides the Shock because now people are pointing to Super as like the face of Overwatch for at least the Western audience.
mhm.
And both of them are on the Shock or now formerly on the Shock. So it's like, what do the rest of these teams have? Houston had Jake, but now he's a caster or an analyst. I forget what exactly he's doing, but yeah, a lot of these teams, the Western players, like you barely know them. So I feel like there is a void for someone to step up besides Super.
But do you even want that position at this point when it's like viewed as a sinking ship? It's like, oh man, I could just like back out and be a
Yeah, but what are
streamer
they
or like
gonna? I mean, but
play
if
it.
they just be a streamer, that's not gonna. If they take that spot and then be a streamer, that's like a much bigger power move than just like I'm just gonna go stream. But who's gonna care about you if you're a no-name, Overwatch player?
My boy Sinatra's gonna pull a Michael Jordan. He's gonna go try to play baseball, and then he's gonna go right back. He's gonna go right back, just like a lot of these kids. These kids are all jumping on this Valorant bandwagon, right? But this thing is getting view botted to shit, and they haven't even really announced how they're gonna run their E, right? So
Mhm.
is it a good move as a professional player when you have all these accolades, right? And you could have fucking signed like at least for another year, right? You are at the top of your game right now, and you could have got whatever brand deals that they had coming would have came to you, right? Get that paycheck. Kid's dumb. Kid's dumb. I would have taken that money for a year, then went to go play Valorant when the scene was a little bit established, right?
No,
Yeah.
And
not
maybe
necessarily because like these players that are getting signed, they're not the best. Well, Sinatra's like the actually like the case that where he is considered the best in his regard to game, but um like how the streamers are getting bought out by like Mixer or Facebook, like there's just like inflated like salaries or like contracts being thrown out or like being negotiated right now. So
Yeah,
this
that's
is like
true.
a
Valorant's not
You
good
don't
going up.
chance to
you,
like finagle your
you
way
don't
to
know
get a
what
few
what
extra
the
like
deal
pay.
he signed with this org is, because he was uh, guesstimated to be making 150K on his
Probably
contract
more
for
by
Overwatch.
now. That was
Yeah,
year
probably more.
one.
Yeah, that was year one, so probably more by now. And if he left that to go play Valorant, and Jake said he was on an org, he probably got
Yeah,
a super inflated
I get
contract.
the reason why he did it, right? Like you
Mhm.
move over there because there is no face of that game, right? But like
Yeah,
you are, and like yeah, I guess it is a sinking ship.
yeah. Do
But
you want to be the face of
honestly,
a sinking ship?
honestly, do you want to jump? Do you want to jump? I feel like it's jumped the gun a little bit. No, like I would have stayed. I would have stayed a year, collect my nice cushy paycheck, started streaming Valorant on the side, unless you have some kind of exclusivity clause with Overwatch, and
hmm
then moved over there anyway.
I mean
I
It's
think
not.
just
that's why
the
he's not on
scheduling
NRG.
of I think the scheduling of Overwatch, the Overwatch League just prohibits that, because like I said, it's like 12 to 14 hours of scrims. You don't
Yeah,
have time to like
practice. It's not mandatory practice. He could have just been like, "Yo, all right, well, I'm on the bench now." So
I don't think he says like, you know what, guys, I'm
I
benched.
mean, you do. You seriously think about it. You're like, "Well, I'm gonna sit my ass down." So I'll collect these brand deals because I signed the contracts, and then I'm gonna sit on my ass and collect my paycheck, and then I'm gonna be a Valorant player next year. Look out!
I mean,
But
that's
I-
basically what Mendo did year one.
And another thing with that
I'm
is
benched.
I'm benching myself. But
Yeah, but like, think about it. Think about your branding from your Twitch
all right,
perspective.
a year
Like,
from
people
now,
are
you don't
streaming.
know.
I'm live from the bench playing Valorant.
But like, think about how hard it is now to get into the Overwatch League. A year from now, Valorant can be the same thing, even if he is coming from the Overwatch League. Once it's established and all the contracts have been given out, these orgs are going to have less money going into year two, and they're not going to give him as cushy of a
You wanna know what
contract.
Yeah,
Go
I've
ahead.
heard there's a lot of big money going around in Valorant right now from these orgs because they're just trying to stock up and get ready with talent for
Yeah,
because they
just
just
in
see it as
case.
the next big thing. Like,
Yeah, like so
And
next
like,
year the opportunity might not be there. So I think it
and he could
is.
have made more. He could have
Yeah,
made more of
I
this than
think
he
it
is.
is smart because Overwatch League is a sinking ship. I think it's a smart decision for him. As for the league, I think they need to reevaluate how they treat their players and need to liberate them a little bit, allow them to like stream or do something on the side to ensure them that like
They
because right
can
now all they
They're
stream.
have is
allowed
the
to
league.
stream.
I mean,
They are
allowed to
able to
stream.
stream whatever they
No one
want,
cares.
just not during
But
the
no,
games. That's it.
but no one really. I feel like
Yeah.
wait, even outside of Overwatch itself,
Yes.
like
Yes.
Yes.
They're
Oh,
not slaves.
I remember
This is
Like,
not
I
year
feel like
one.
you
They've
got
completely
them in a
changed
camp.
this.
You got them in a camp. Close the doors. Play the
They're
game.
just not
That's all you
allowed
get
to
do.
stream while Overwatch League is on because then that's sucking views. It's like
yeah.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
they've been streaming Valorant. A bunch of them have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that's what I'm
I-
saying. I'm like, I don't see the reason, like, unless you got an absurdly large contract, or like you were like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna make, or it was like a safe, like you're gonna make the same amount of money for like a game that's probably going to blow up, right? But
Mhm.
again, like even if it was next year, right? If you're good enough, I don't think it matters, and I don't think it's gonna matter if you're not good enough to pull into the scene, even when it is established. You're not
You
gonna.
know, realistically, it's only a few months now. Like the Overwatch League ends like around like September or something, so he could have just stuck out a few months. But I guess it really does come down to that he just completely fell out of the game and wasn't feeling it. And he was
And you also
also
have to think about it from
benched.
his perspective because I read his whole letter and his explanation of why he was leaving, and he said that his performance was starting to wither. And like when you're that decorated in the game, do you really want to like fall from the top and like Sinatraa was popping off and now he's dog shit, and then he backed out for
I think
Valorant.
he
Oh yeah,
meant
he backed
more
out
of like
because he
since
was
he
dog
wasn't
shit.
like motivated. That's why his
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
performance.
He wasn't performing to his best, not because he was like any worse, but he wasn't performing to his best because he had no interest in the game. And like, do you want to back out
Yeah,
when
strike
you're at
while your stocks are at the highest.
while your stocks are the highest? It just makes more sense.
It depends, because like, are your skills going to translate over? Like, is he going to be a top tier Valorant player?
He's pretty good apparently. I haven't really watched, but I've heard that he's very good. He has some kind of CS:GO background, and he's at
He is a
the
DPS
top of
player.
his.
Yeah,
He's a
when
Like,
I
I
first
think-
heard of Sinatraa when he signed to the Overwatch League, and I remember him talking about it. He played CS:GO almost professionally before he started playing Overwatch, so he does have a background in it. So I expect him to be good,
Mhm.
and his skills to translate over.
And like being
But-
I feel like tracer players would tracers and like the Widow, Ash, McCree players would be the best ones to transfer over.
I feel like Tracer not at all because it's just entirely different.
But it's like you're constantly like flicking, so it's like you're constantly being
flicks,
reactionary.
yeah.
So
That's true.
Yeah, maybe your action time that might translate, but it just feels like the complete opposite of just like waiting for your shot instead of just like going and
movement
opening
aside,
up.
I'm thinking purely moving your mouse and clicking.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, though, like with the mass exodus of players, right, going over to Valorant, what do you think Overwatch can do to kind of, especially with like Overwatch 2 on the way?
I'm gonna be an Overwatch League apologist, and it's just like this is kind of like the best it's been, honestly. Like at least from like a gameplay perspective, because the first 2 years, had such like overwhelming metas with like Mercy and Goats that made it kind of unrecognizable to like what the game actually is. And now you have like the most diverse games ever with hero pools and stuff, which is maybe another attribution of why these people are like, screw this, I'm leaving, because it's a lot of pressure on players to like have to learn a new meta and figure all out like week to week. So that's a lot of. I think Sinatraa may have mentioned that as well.
Yeah, he did.
If you like referring back to that Siegel video he made, like the state of Overwatch was like a year and a half ago. He's like Overwatch is like the most, like one of the, if not the most complex or most demanding game to learn at a pro scene, because you got a shit ton of maps and then you got a shit ton of characters, and then you got to figure out how each nuance between what they're running it in each different map. Like there's a lot more to like factor in than like if you look at League, everyone you're playing in Summoner's Rift every time. There's a lot more characters, but you just have to worry about the characters.
Yeah, and a
Yeah,
lot
and I
of the
think
characters are the same thing. They're just different variants of like the same movesets.
yeah, I think the team element might also be a little like concerning. Like, luckily he was on the best team at least last year, and but it could drop your stocks as a player if like your team isn't performing as well, like cohesively, and then it's just like, oh, I guess Sinatraa isn't all that good. So if that's another callback to like if his stock might drop with the team, he might want to leave. But we're getting a little off topic from the league itself, because you know, got a lot of money from that YouTube deal. It was like that Overwatch League and Call of Duty League for, it was like a 3-year deal on YouTube for like 150 million or something crazy. So I don't think it's really going to disappear anytime soon. Like, it's definitely
Yeah.
going to be sticking around. It's just like, what action can they take to bounce back?
Yeah, I really don't know how you can fix that problem of burnout. It's just gonna happen when you play the game for that long all the time, unless you're just like a machine and you don't care. All you care about is money. Like
Yeah,
eventually
man.
you're
That's
gonna
what,
get.
that's what you gotta do. You gotta be out here for the money. That's what Activision Blizzard is about, and that's what they expect from their players. Okay.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they're people, man. They're
Activision Blizzard is made of robots, and so should their esports. Okay.
Yeah, maybe having a deeper roster would help kind of
But
prevent
they
that a
had like
little.
a 12-man roster, or like now they have what 10-man. I think they had like 10 over
Yeah,
10
they had
players.
like, like five of them were
yeah.
DPS, so
They're not Boston
he
where
didn't
they
have to
literally only
play.
have 6 people to field right now.
Revolutionary, right? You get to play all your players at the same time, right? So like you have a Tor pick, you get swap in a Tor player, swap them in. So that you
Oh,
learn a million different characters. So like you have a team, everybody plays one, right? And when it's your time to shine, it's your time
That's
to
a
shine.
good. Yeah, you
Yeah,
get.
and like it will fucking fix so many problems. I don't understand. Like it just like the limitations that they have on these like orgs. Like it doesn't. You're never gonna be able to do that though,
of
right?
having to
Like
play 6 people at a time. Yes, that is part of the deal. Because then it comes down to like how deep are your pockets that you can just like buy a 12-man team
I mean,
instead of just
honestly,
six
for the
players who could play everything. Shouldn't that be more valuable than having just a
Yeah,
deep roster? Like,
yeah, but,
that's
but
more
think about
impressive.
it. Think about it. You should be able to spend your money how you want. One, two, they all have deep pockets to be able to play in the fucking academy, right? Like the academy teams are fucking, or like in the actual orgs, you're paying how much per team? 25 mil to
No,
play,
yeah,
anywhere
somewhere
up to
around
60.
up to
Yeah,
60 mil to
for a
play
main team.
for a main team. Okay, yeah. So I don't see it as a problem.
But it would never work. It's way smarter to pick like to spend that money instead of getting 3 people who can play 3 different heroes, to buy like a Prophet or someone who's just like
there. Yeah, who's good at
amazing at
like.
all these different heroes and just has a higher buy point.
But my point is this league perspective as a whole, right? How many profits are there? Not many. So
Yeah,
how are you going to fill out teams, and
yeah,
how are you going to get what all the other issues? How are you going to fix all those other issues? Right? There being so many players that like people don't like, the large majority of your audience doesn't resonate with. Right? How do you fix the mass exodus of top tier players from your game? How do you fix all these things? And it's you lower the skill ceiling. Let some of these really high tier one tricks get into the pro scene, because you
yeah.
know there's a bunch of
Yeah, between that and like making the tier 2 scene more accessible to the tier 1, like even if you, cuz like you can win the tier 2, the whole tier 2 tournament, and nothing comes from it. You have no guarantee making it to the league. It's just like, wow, you're the best tier 2 scene.
Yeah, think
Yeah,
about this.
realistically, they pick up teams from these. There's like 4 Korean teams, Korean contenders teams that they literally just pick up each year. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll take the
So,
best person from each of these 4 teams,
so it's like,
and
what is
that's
even
pretty
the
much
point
it.
of even trying hard in the tier 2 when it's just like they're gonna pick someone from one of those teams anyway?
If
Well,
you're
because a lot of
relegated,
those other regions are just trash compared to Koreans.
yeah, but like you
Oh,
gotta
okay,
think
but then
about
you put those
the
Korean kids
relegation
in the tier
system.
2 scene, and then it'll be a lot more. So now they're competing against each other, and whoever wins has a chance to make it to the league. And now
They
it's
are.
more.
That's how they
So
get it. There is a
you
Korean
want
team.
Yeah, but like, what if
how
you did a
the
hard system?
you
What
want
if you did a
how
hard system? What if you did a relegation system, right? Your worst tier 1 team drops down to tier 2, and then your winners of
That's yeah,
tier 2 becomes a tier 1 team.
yeah.
That's how you got to
but
do
then
it.
you can't
If you
have those
there are
buy-ins.
easy ways of making your esport nice, and it's just they don't want to do it. They're like,
All of
no,
these, all of your ideas are terrible. Blake.
None of these teams who
Coaching.
just paid 60 million are gonna ever agree to that. What Darren seems to
no,
want
I
is
know, yeah,
is
they're money
how
grubbing shills. That's why I'm like, it will never work. But like, if you want to get your viewership up where most of your money comes from, you got to keep it interesting.
Mhm.
And you can see that their strategy is not working. So it's time to employ some new moves.
what Darren kind of wants is how League of Legends is run. There's like import restrictions. Like you can only have
Mhm.
like a handful of imports from whatever region outside of your own region. So NA teams can only have X amount of European players or Korean players. It can be like a combo of each,
Yeah,
or just
but
like two Koreans, and that's like the
that's the
rest has
nerf
to come from
American
their
money.
region.
First of all, that's the nerf American money because like their teams are also spread out a lot more. Like you have some really good EU players and EU teams. It's just like it's so concentrated in Overwatch League because not everybody plays it either at that high of a level. You know, League has
Yeah.
been out a lot longer too.
I disagree with the whole like nerf Koreans approach. Like I think it's a global league and it should be the best players that you want to see like the highest level of performance. So and a lot of times, it's a mixed roster. Like the shock was basically a mixed roster of North American and Korean talent, like 3-3 for the most part. And it's all about just like kind of figuring out the balance of incorporating these players, the best talent into like a functioning team.
Don't forget about Nevix,
Yeah,
the one European.
and just expanding on that, Steve. I just think that just goes back to the problem that Overwatch has had since it came out. They're trying to please so many people or do so many things at once where like they're trying to be a competitive game, but our casual kids aren't having fun. They're trying to have the best players in the world, but our viewership is down. Like you have to like pinpoint what you're trying to do and go for it. Yeah, and your original opinion might have been, oh, we want the best players in the world, but now you're seeing your viewership is declining. So you have to address that issue, and like continuing on the same path, like Blake said, isn't gonna fix it. You have to change something
I think they
because
should buff up the frames between the bands instead of weekly, make it maybe 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, or
Yeah,
maybe
just
a
to ease
month,
the pressure.
because we're still seeing, even though they keep nerfing May and Reaper and a lot of like Orisa and stuff, they still get a fair amount of play because they're a lot more forgiving than the other characters in Overwatch. So it's like if you're playing at the highest level where every game matters to win money, you're gonna play the most safe comp unless you have a super niche strategy on on a certain map on a certain point.
hmm
So it's like, yeah, those characters aren't very fun to watch. You want to see, for some reason, everyone wants to see Genji. I think Doomfist is infinitely more entertaining to watch, but Dive isn't going to be played nearly as much unless like your roster's like honed in on being those mains of those characters. So I think buffing up the ban windows will allow teams to like kind of hone in on that meta, and like you'll see more of the skill.
But then what
Bearing.
happens when Genji or Doomfist both get banned for a month and
Yeah,
Well,
no,
then that's
and
a
then it's
month.
like now you can only play
Well, then there's that 1 month. It's better than just continuously seeing like the majority of the same characters getting banned out each week, and then like the second tier characters always getting like coming in.
Okay.
So,
Watching
What
them do it makes me think they should literally just be like, okay, May is bad, since that's what everyone wants.
Yeah,
And they
because
were
no
like
one likes
trying to
watching May.
randomize it.
It's the most boring,
I was just gonna say, what
lackluster
do you guys think
gameplay.
about either doing hero bans or, like Steve said, just like a flat out May Reaper ban from the Overwatch League, can't play them? Like, what do you guys think about that? Or like individual teams
How
like
about you fix
have
your
like a ban
broken
system?
characters? Just fix your broken
Yeah,
characters.
Sure too.
Well,
like
that comes
honestly, maybe
back to
like
the
removing them for balance, I would say.
But that
Would be
goes
my
back to what I was
recommendation.
saying with their like, oh, but like casual people like to play May and Reaper and they like to see May and Reaper be played, so
Still
we
be
can't
available in quick play. Like I think
they
they
also
need to
like
stop.
seeing Symmetra, and I was like, why?
You said something
Yeah.
interesting the other day, Darren. Like when we were playing, and like there are some like very minor things that they can do to make those characters a little bit more fair. Like what you were saying with May, how she wipes
Oh yeah,
all her
So
status effects.
when she uses her ice block, she wipes all status effects. So like if you anti her and then she uses her ice block, it completely wipes it. If you make it so that when May uses her ice block and then she has anti on her, ice block has been nerfed and now like May can only use it to stall and she comes out with the same amount of health and that'll make her a lot easier to kill.
And now she's got a hard counter with Ana. Great.
Yeah.
Now Ana's way better.
Now Ana's
Yeah.
better and Ana's a high skill character and that people enjoy seeing that. So
So with to that point, with Overwatch 2 coming out, they didn't really announce much about competitive, and I think it's smart to not to, even if you are making changes, because like no one's gonna be excited for that like a year later, like a full year later, and it just makes you less interested in the current game. But I imagine like by adding a bunch of PvE stuff, that's like kind of herds the casual audience, like it pleases them, and then it kind of opens the door to make it maybe more skill based in
the
the
online
competitive
mode.
balancing.
And I'm interested to see with the new game mode. I forgot what it's called. It's like push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Payload
I think
robot does it for you.
it's when Overwatch first came out, I said this. There needs to be a game mode where there's double payload and whoever pushes the payload farthest on either side wins, like tug of war. And they did it, and I think that'll be interesting and allow a lot of different characters to play or open up a lot of different characters' play styles with a game mode like that. Because right now there's like Reaper May on King of the Hill. They just brawl out, And I think it's just doing different game modes and adding stuff like that to the competitive game mode will open it up a lot more and allow a lot more different strategies to be played. But they have to be open to doing more stuff like that. And they do have the experimental tab, so there is more to come. But they're on the clock right now.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
like is it not too late?
Is it
Yeah,
like
it's a little too late, but like I kind of worried that overcomplicating their game even more is going to make it harder for their pros to get established in the scene. Like we were talking
what do you mean
about,
by overcomplicating new
like
characters or
there's so much you have to learn already, right? It's one of the hardest games to learn. Not even maybe not even to learn, but like they're constantly banning characters, right? So your day to day is way harder than most esports, right?
Mhm.
Like you look at like Fortnite drama, kids are dropping in the same zone. Like kids know where you're dropping, right?
Mhm.
Like these kids, every single game is different, right? Like you're playing a different
well
map.
every week
Yeah.
from week to week
But doesn't that make it a better experience
Yeah,
for
for the
for
viewers,
people
but like I think their main
and the
problem
viewers?
is retaining talent at this point, right? Would we agree with that or no?
Just because one kid left because he's probably got a crazy high deal to go play Valorant, which is like just the fresh new thing. Like, and not everyone has that option.
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I know that, but it's just like think about it. It does have that moniker of being a sinking ship. How many more of
I think it's
their
the viewership is the real reason, and I
Yeah,
think that
because
really
like
stems from
even I
YouTube.
think they would suck it up if they were like if Overwatch was doing numbers on the views like oh well I'm popping off on the views
I think
so it
it's
doesn't matter.
like a perfect storm scenario right now. It's like you got COVID, which kind of eliminates the whole local games or the homestands, which is like one of the
Yeah,
reasons
those
he's
were looking pretty successful, honestly. And
Mhm.
like when they got to China, they would have been insane, and they would have had like a bunch of these huge stadium games to be able to be like, "This is Overwatch League," because it's really popular in China still.
Yeah.
It's going less in Korea, but it's like still huge in China. But that never even happened.
Yeah,
And it's
like
just the worst thing is that, like they're doing the viewership is so low during quarantine. When the production is
Yeah.
fine, like they're doing a pretty good job making it work, but why are the numbers still low when people can't even fucking go outside? It's crazy.
yeah, and Twitch just added their esports like filter tab or whatever, so it's like
Yeah.
like, oh,
I mean,
I just hit here. Oh, this LCS is playing. Oh, we got some whatever playing. So like it's pretty streamlined. But yeah, it's like you look. I think it was last year. Like the Charge like Twitter account like posted like their fans would like fill out like movie theaters to watch the games when they were
yeah,
all
they
So they're
back
filled
in
out
doing
like a
that
Asia.
whole
with like
mall.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's crazy.
we're filling out bars in New York for the NYXL, which is cool. But now it goes back to like our one of our original videos of COVID. You gotta be ready to adapt now. Like yeah, that's gonna who knows when those opportunities are gonna come back. So they have to
But
be
I
prepared.
mean, like we have the big highlight of this year was the homestands, and then you also have that YouTube deal where YouTube is just trash for watching esports live. It's good for VODs, but like the live experience is horrible. So like that, the state of the game, and you also have Valorant popping off. It's just like a whole thing, like a number of things just working against Overwatch at the moment.
hmm Which is like, maybe it's weird saying that it's. I guess it's not that old, it's not that young, but it's weird being like this game is dead when it's like, other games have lasted for super long. What makes this game just like dropping out so early? Like early.
Yeah,
I
three
think I
years.
think I think it's now companies are trying to make esports where they were more of an organic thing
Hmm.
over the years. Like now they see like the money coming into esports, right? I think Valorant is like one of the first games where they're like, we made this to be an esport and have a marketing push as like we are
All about
going to
esports.
make all in on esports, right? So if it doesn't work out, like then they're fucked, right? Because their game, like they're not going to get that large of a casual scene to be able to like support their numbers just on like game sales, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
But
look
I'm
at
pretty sure Overwatch was intended to be an esport from the beginning, but the difference is they didn't want to just be an esport. They wanted to have massive casual appeal, and you
Yeah,
can't really have it both ways.
yeah, and
yeah.
they're kind of like a case study for that, right? Like that doesn't work. And
Yeah,
honestly,
and that
what I don't know if it does not work, right? Because you look at something like completely different game, but like Smash. Smash is a party game, but like people like making it an esport. I mean,
Hmm.
like soccer, it's like it's not an esport.
Yeah. I just watched Hungrybox rage because he lost to I think it was a Corin or he I just watched him like lose and he's like he's actually trying hard like he was just like watching his random Minecraft videos his viewers would send in like mid tournament like mid game and just like and then like he started getting wrecked and he was like oh no I gotta take it serious and then he actually lost. It was kind of funny.
That's what you get for getting slain by counters, right? That's
yeah,
or
when you're a one trick Jigglypuff, you're gonna get ran by a few characters.
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like there is a balance, right? I just don't think that they've made the right decisions, like in gameplay, to really make it like if you're pushing so hard on your esport, make your game a little bit more competitive, right?
yeah. I think they were also maybe a little too ambitious with like they're the first people to ever really attempt like a global league, right like this with homestands and everything, and I don't even know if they were to imagine the player burnout if that was happening. Like they
Yeah,
could have
with
it could
the
have been a catastrophe by the end of the year.
flying from stadium to stadium. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, oh my god, the amount of
From
hours.
China to London to Vancouver to like,
Your roster changed week to week.
well, that's when they were saying like maybe you have a full 12-man roster and you send your B team out to Toronto to play that game because they should be able to pull it off.
Hmm.
Yeah, that see like that would keep it interesting too. I'm rooting for the bees.
Yeah.
I want to see bee brawl at the end of it, like a losers bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, but they are making an effort the Blizzard is always super slow, but they just announced like a May tournament to replace like they were gonna have a mid-season tournament, and they used to have stage tournaments to like kind of bring some excitement, and that also caused like a huge jump in viewership for like the stage finals because it's like, okay, these are the two best current teams, and they adjusted it so now like for a month your games count towards seeding for the tournament, and then like the top three winners of the tournament get like they get money and then also additional wins onto their score for the playoff. So they're trying to they like heard feedback that it's like, yeah, stage playoffs are cool, but it's really just for money and it doesn't really feel like anything other than like bragging rights. So they're trying to like add some more higher stakes.
And another thing, they brought in a couple more pro players into their inner circle between Blizzard and the league itself, and they've gotten feedback from them. They just recently decided to change the hero pools thing that's been removed from every rank below
And
masters.
that had a
That,
like huge blowback overall. The big thing was that like they were taking rank data and applying it to the Overwatch League hero
yeah.
pools, which was
Cause yeah,
just
so they
like,
were like, when these plats are deciding who we play, yeah.
well, they
About
said like
that.
top level, but it's still like no one played May because it's not fun. So she was
Yeah.
never up to be banned.
Yeah.
And
But
just
like,
like,
then they were like letting a cat choose the bands. I don't want to hear like the plat strats were worse than a cat just picking at random.
well, it's still random. It's just deciding which
Mhm.
tickets are up to be, which heroes are up to be banned, which is where that's the data that's important. It's gonna be they decided to go with a random method, so you might as well have a cat instead of
Yeah,
an
they don't want
RNG generator.
another soldier finally getting
they
played for like a game
they
and then
try
instantly
they
banned.
try to be too hands off, like, oh, that wasn't me, I didn't choose to ban them, that was you guys. They need to just be like, no, May, no, Reaper, this is the game that we want you to play. They're
But
like,
then
I feel
that
like they're afraid to just say that. They're just like, we
because
want to see this.
they don't want to damage competitive integrity by it's like say you're the best May team ever and it's like sorry that hero is boring to watch, but at the end of the day it is for entertainment, so it's I don't know.
It's
But a
yeah,
lot of
they're
people find it entertaining because it's competitive. So and if you ruin competitive integrity, you lose that.
yeah, they're stuck
But
between a rock and a hard place with that.
I will
Good luck.
say that they it could turn out okay because at the beginning of the year a bunch of casters left, and honestly, and everyone was all doom and gloom then, but honestly, the casting talent this year is probably better than it's ever been. They lost kind of a lot of like shit casters last year and like a few good ones, but they balanced it out. They shift people around because
Hmm.
their talent team is pretty good. It's just like the game itself is like what the real problem is, and the
Yeah,
balance,
and
the experience.
I think they're like on crunch time now. They're on their back leg, and it's gonna come down to Overwatch 2 and the competitive changes they decide to make in the direction they want to take the game with. I think it's gonna be like 5 new heroes they hinted at having
Yeah,
in the
something like
new
that.
game, and
But that's really they really need to take action then instead of just being
yeah,
like we have PvE now
yeah,
because that's only going
and
to last you for
and
so
like their
long.
last hero release, Echo, phenomenal. My favorite character in the game. My favorite character originally when I started playing the game was Hanzo. Then I went to Doomfist. Now it's Echo. Echo is just like so much fun to play and watch. And I think if they add more characters like that are difficult and fun to watch being played, they can bring back their game.
How do you
Uh,
guys think the skill trees in Overwatch 2 are going to affect the game?
I mean, I think it'll like allowed or a lot more casual freedom and fun on that end. But
Yeah, it's only
other
for the
than that,
PvE, so it's like a cool little like
For the
it adds some more dimension.
I was like, you're
Yeah,
not going to be able to balance this game. I'm like, it's over. Oh.
no,
that
no,
that
yeah,
would be the
No,
death knell, I
yeah,
think.
that would
that
be
would
the nail in
be.
the coffin. But yeah, another thing with the PVE, just like the last thing I'm going to say about it is that from what I saw of it, it seemed to be the same thing with just a different background. And if you're trying to corral your casual audience to that game mode, to me, there looks like there's no replay value, especially once you get like all the busted moves. Like it's just going to be you melting bots. And how long can you do that before these kids are back in the queue playing Symmetra, Reaper, May, Moira, just like
Yeah, I
if
guess
you
there's
want to put them in that mode, you have to make you can't just be like, well, we have a mode where you can kill bots. It has to have some kind of like end game or
Yeah, just put loot
longevity.
boxes on it. Just you can only get loot boxes from that. The kids will be in there for months.
Just the one thing on Echo playing, being like in the Overwatch League, it's funny because your already hard to watch game just got even more confusing
yeah.
because now there's like two of the same
Mhm.
characters. Like the casters are getting fucked up because they're like dropping ults after the fight's over because it's like they might as well use it, and then they're just like, oh no, but it's like it's the Echo clone, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Like, oh, okay.
But that's like, I think that's a part of the fun of it. It's just like a lot of
there were
shit going on.
three primal raging Winstons in one match, just going off. It was pretty funny.
Triple
And,
pin. That's what I like to see. Triple pin.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's our thoughts. Hopefully they can turn it around. I think they know everything they need to. It's just like, can they actually implement it in time to save the sinking ship? We will see, but I don't think Sinatraa leaving is the end all be all, but it's a bad sign for sure.
Just another.
Yeah, another adding to the pile. But we are the Infamy Fantasy Sports team. We're hosting Fantasy Sports at infamy.gg. Go check that out, and we'll see you next time.